Choujin next is finally back, and we have backstories, we have visions, we see the relationship of Tokyo and Azuma has reconnected, and we are able to see what's going on with the masked man and what he is plotting to do, especially since he's working with Ricardo and Ririka, and also too the smoke Choujin guy that is after Ellie. So all of this is going down in this latest chapter of Choujin Next, and we're all here for it. So we start off with the chapter while getting the backstory of Ellie and get to a better understanding of why her family and her grandparents, how they were before she was even born. And this backstory of Ellie's mom was pretty interesting because she was born with a family that lived in the middle of nowhere. They didn't live near a city, but they lived near a location where they couldn't really get the desired of Ellie's mom what she wanted, because Ellie's mom, she wanted luxury, she wanted riches and all these things. And that kind of explains why Ellie's her desire wants like riches and everything else, because she get it after her mom. So while her mom, she realized that her parents can't deliver what she wants, she decided to go away at the age of 16. So while she just went away and she left home, she started becoming a thief, where she got all of her squad and they started causing all of this mayhem, the destruction that she already left. And she had 300 members that wanted all the smoke and that was willing to follow her footsteps. And all of her deeds was spread throughout the whole entire town. And so her parents, they of course, hearing that their daughter is the ringleader and causing all of this mischief, is all of a sudden are feeling sad and of course embarrassed because their daughter is the ringleader who's causing all of this mayhem. So one day, all of a sudden, she returned home, and the family, they're all in shock and surprise. They're just like, wait, what? Huh? You returned home? And then all of a sudden they see that she brought a baby, and she begs her parents to take after her child because she felt ill. And she says, please raise my daughter so that way she doesn't end up being like me. I don't want her to have the life like me. And then so at her last breath, she apologized to her family, all the bad things that she has done. So while she's laying there dead, the grandparents, they started to take care of the baby, and which we found out that it is actually Ellie. And so while Ellie, she's growing up, her grandparents actually raised her up and show her love, compassion, and everything. And they kept their word to their dying daughter that they will actually love her and show her the right way instead of going to the way of her mother. And even Ellie knows about the history and the past about her mom and what she did, and she decided not to go on that same road as her mother. And during that course of time, we see Ellie, she's waking up and having a dream, and she's worrying about her grandpa and wondering what he's doing. And then we shift and we see a whole bunch of destructions and broken buildings. It looks like a whole giant war happens. And then we see Tokyo in the middle of all of this rubble, and he's just staring and like in disbelief, like, damn, how all of this happened. And he's just looking around and he's just like, wait a minute, is this Yamato? And as he's turning around and he's looking for either somebody or something, he looks and he sees that there is Azuma, and Azuma is in his Choujin form, and he says Tokyo, and he turns around, and as you see Azuma's Choujin's form, his head has all of these eyes, and he says, this is your fault, while missiles are flying and crashing and making huge explosions, and Tokyo's freaking out. And then all of a sudden he's just yelling out Azuma, and it seems like he's been falling asleep in class, and Azuma's just looking at Tokyo like, bruh, like what the hell's going on? And then we see that Tokyo's being yelled by his teacher, and Ellie, she is freaking out because of the fact that it is that spring break is happening, and she kind of needs to study because most likely she's not doing great at school. So she went in and tried to talk to Tokyo, saying like, hey Tokyo, can you help me study? But Tokyo says, I'm at the bottom of my class. But he's like, I can also lend you a hand. Then we see Ozma, he's walking up on top of the rooftop, and then he asks, he's like, hey, I can help you out. While Ellie, she is ready to go ahead and fight, but then she kind of lower her guard a bit, but she's still kind of sus because the last time she interacted with Ozma literally stabbed her in the stomach. So while that's going down, Ozma, he's just like, hey, I'm not here to attack you. I'm here to apologize to you and I want to be friends, because he was like, I knew I lost control over my Chosen powers. But Ellie went and says like, hey, I need to apologize to you because I saw you going inside that abandoned building and I should have stopped you, but I didn't. So I regret, because if I had stopped you, you would have not went berserk and went to your Chosen powers. And so she was like, I'm here to apologize to you. So both of these guys, they were end up to shake hands and apologize to each other, and they will be able enough to go ahead and make an amends. So now with all of this is going down, we see that Tokyo, he has a vision of the destruction of the city. So this could be foreshadowing of what's to come, probably a vision of what's going to happen, because he already has the Yamano of Mori school uniform. And of course, it seems like he went to a huge battle. So it looks like it's going to be some kind of destruction or some kind of new war, because it also foreshadowed in the other chapters that there was already a war like 70 years ago. So it looks like there's going to be another war, especially after we saw like this hand beam beast from a past couple of chapters ago. I forgot what chapter it was, but I think it was chapter 18 or so. But it kind of just foreshadowed or see what's going to happen to the city. But other than that, we can also see that Ozma is building the relationship and the friendship with Ellie and Tokyo in this chapter. But we get shift into seeing what happened to Ricardo, and he's talking to the masked man and he's advising the masked man what happened to him, how come he couldn't get Tokyo to him, because the masked man was going to go meet Ricardo and Ririka to retrieve Tokyo. But it all got stopped because Ozma, he activated his Choujin powers and he started attacking them, and he's describing his ass whooping. And on top of that too, that he barely survived the attack that Ozma was able to give him. So he described Ozma's Choujin's abilities and powers, and even Ririko saying the man has even like a shackles. And so they even described like how strong he is because he has a touch of chaos. And Ririka advised that he's probably a creator Choujin like her, because Ririka's ability, she's able to make any paper come into life or any form of like an origami. So they're just like, that's interesting, but they all want their receipts, they all want their revenge, because they all want to beat up Ozma. But we see that the masked man was just like, hey, you guys are already beat up, you guys already got your ass whooped. So he was like, calm down. He was like, your health is more important. He was like, I will take care of this for so far, so recover first and then we'll worry about your revenge. So what happened was that the masked man, he walks and he's like, oh, shackles and a cape, a form of like a beast like, but interesting nonetheless. So he went in and he made a phone call, and it was the smoke Choujin where he was having his dinner. Then all of a sudden he's just like, who is this? He's like, where did you get my contact code? And so the masked man was like, now I have many friends. And then we see that the smoke Choujin guy is like, okay, I'm in the middle of simply flattening a golden beast and a fine wine that is from the 1990s red. I don't appreciate you disturbing me while I'm eating. So you should have never picked up the phone in the first place all of a sudden. So what happened was that the masked man, he gave him information on what's going on, and then all of a sudden he is freaking out. He's just like, tell me more details, as he throw his steak and his wine to Tokyo and Ozma. While Tokyo, he's talking to Ozma, trying to be normal, saying that, wow, 3 Choujin at a school, it's pretty amazing, I can't wrap my brain around it. And then all of a sudden Tokyo, he stopped because Ozma stopped him. He says, hey bro, I'm afraid that I might lose control over my powers. And he's just like, I'm afraid, I'm scared because I might cause all this destruction and everything else. And on top of that, I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to hurt anyone around me, especially you, and especially what happened last time. And he says, listen, Tokyo, I had a dream that the Yamato was laying into ruins all around me. And then when I turned around, you were there and you told me it was your fault. And then I got it. And then that stunned Tokyo because Tokyo, he had that same dream as well. But this time it was Azuma who was in his Choujin form. But Azuma has that same dream, but it was in reverse, which is crazy. So both of these guys has the same vision. So it's all being connected, but how? So Azuma, he says, if I ever did something bad, would you be able to kill me? And Tokyo says, nah, bro, I wouldn't be able to do that. He's just like, Azuma, I will become stronger. So if anything that happened, I will stop you and you should become stronger and became a keeper like me at the Yamato. And so he was just like, with that, they will help you understand your power so that way you can use your powers right. You'll be able to control it. And then at this moment in time, we see that Azuma, he's kind of cracking a smile and he's happy to hear that. And he says, bruh, all I wanted was to become a hero with you. And we see these two guys, they're walking together and they continue their day being happy and stuff while a balloon passed by because there's a little kid who all of a sudden is stunned by Ricardo's face because we see that Ricardo, he's walking on his normal daily duties. And that's it. Pretty much how the chapter ends, where we see that Tokyo and Azuma, they're both walking and they're both are going to become heroes. And this chapter was pretty great, especially too, after a couple of weeks since we didn't get a chapter at all. But this chapter was really, really good. I'm wondering what does that vision means for both of them. Are they the ones who actually are going to cause the destruction and they're going to blame each other? But I don't know yet. But let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of what that dream means or anything. Let me know down in the comment section. But if you guys do like the video, please give it a like and subscribe. And remember, always be decent. This is the Monto Man. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and be safe out there.